Yeah, yeah. Ball so hard, you better believe me, it's scary. It's basketball at the bar with Calvin and Barry. So put a tip in the jar, cause these dudes can really fill it up. Whether it's buckets you need or just a beer in a cup. We're here for fresh conversations and some delicious libations. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. My boys got you covered like you being guarded by Peyton. From the glove to the claw and everyone else in between. Calvin and Barry got everything that you need. For sure. So sit back, relax, because we're starting the show. It's basketball at the bar. Grab your drinks and let's go. Yeah. Grab a drink and let's go. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Calvin and Barry. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Let's get it.
What up, ballers? Welcome to Basketball at the Bar. Join us live every weekday for the best NBA podcasts on YouTube, where the takes are hot and the drinks are cold. There's no dress code, and you can take us wherever you go. So pull up a stool, drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe. This is Basketball at the Bar. Grab your drinks, and let's go. Calvin, it's Thursday.
It is Thursday.
It is Thursday, May 12th.
Which is Saturday in my world.
Oh, that's nice.
This is my weekend, Thursday, Friday.
That's really nice. It's a Thursday for me, but it's a half day. Not going to lie, I got bored in the second game yesterday and spent a little time at happy hour. So running a little slow today. I'm going to do this, and then I think I'm going to the other side to watch Sonic 2. I'm not sure if you saw the first Sonic, but
I did not.
Great movie.
Yeah?
Yeah, I actually liked it a lot. I was really surprised.
You must like it if you're driving all the way to the other side to go watch Sonic 2.
I got to do some shopping and stuff, too. So we're getting cables. We're setting up the DJ equipment for our party on Tuesday, so make sure you guys join us all for that. But welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Today's show is going to be a lot of fun. We are going to talk about some injury updates. We're going to talk about the Executive of the Year Award, Kyrie Irving drama, more Kyrie Irving drama. We're going to talk about the games that happened yesterday, or one game that happened yesterday.
Yeah, mostly just the Bucks and Celtics game.
Then we're going to give some previews into today's games. We have two awesome games today. And then we're going to end the show, as always, with Q&A. So thank you all for joining us. Welcome in. And Calvin, let's get started. What's the news on the injury front?
Not huge news, I guess, yet. Just a couple minor injuries to report. Otto Porter Jr., of course, leaving last night's Game 5 in Memphis with what they're calling a sore right foot. Maybe he just was not very happy and didn't want to participate in that beatdown anymore, so he told Mike Brown that his foot was sore. I don't know. But he was. This was a game that they just got him back for, and now he's seems to have re-injured himself. So a key member of the rotation for this team. They could definitely use him. It's something to keep an eye on moving forward. And then for tonight's Game 6 in Philadelphia, Matisse Thybulle is currently listed as questionable with left foot soreness. It's not a good day for feet.
Not a good day at all. They need to get some Dr. Scholl's in there and see what can happen. Any news on Embiid, what's going on with him?
Joel Embiid is not even listed on the injury report currently for Philadelphia. Okay. So I don't really know what that means. I know that he is still injured in multiple areas of his body. Yeah. But he will definitely play.
Hopefully he's not mentally injured in this game.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be impacting him the most out of all the injuries. In other news, Grizzlies GM Zach Kleiman wins the top Executive of the Year award. He's only 33 years old.
He is the youngest executive ever to win the award.
Incredible. Congratulations to him. The Memphis Grizzlies have had a great season. John Morant's been out 3 separate occasions with knee injuries. They won 20 games without him in the regular season, and they just won a game last night without him. Game. At home. I just want to take a look here at this Grizzlies roster because I think he's done an incredible job building this team. Whatever your thoughts are on Steven Adams or the trade of Valanciunas for Steven Adams, how that potentially worked out. You could think that Valanciunas is a better player. Maybe Steven Adams fits this team better. regardless of what you think, Steven Adams has 1 year left on his deal after this, $17.9 million. So he is a valuable expiring contract, and he's a valuable piece to this team. Dylan Brooks, incredible player drafted by them. John Morant, incredible player drafted. Jaren Jackson Jr. has been playing great, also drafted by them. He just signed an extension, 4-year deal, which is front-loaded, so it actually is declining every year, which will help them re-sign John Morant. They drafted DeAnthony Melton, who's been playing well. Tyus Jones. Zaire Williams has had a great rookie season. Brandon Clark has been playing well for them. Desmond Bane. Like, they have done incredibly well in the draft recently.
Oh, yeah. I think you can easily make a case that they've been the team that's drafted the best over the past 4 or 5 years, probably. And, it's fitting that he's the youngest GM to win this award. The team is the second youngest team in the NBA.
Right.
So they're all growing together.
They're coming for the league. They're coming for the championship. I don't want to be negative here, but the last time I saw a team this young and this exciting, it was the Oklahoma City Thunder with KD, Westbrook, and Harden. And I was thinking to myself, wow, this team is going to be good for a long time. And they did have some success in the NBA. They made the finals. They lost, or they traded Harden. Then they ended up trading Ibaka. They lost Durant in free agency. Then they trade Westbrook and Paul George. They've been all over the place. They are in the bottom of the league right now, but they have a ton of draft picks. They're ready to rebuild. I hope that the same situation doesn't happen with this Memphis Grizzlies team. It seems like these players enjoy each other. They enjoy what they're creating and what they're building, and they seem to get along great and fit together well. So the sky is the limit for this Memphis Grizzlies team. But just because you won Executive of the Year and you're the youngest ever, don't stop working, man, because you got to keep pushing forward.
He's got a lot of work to do. It is hard in today's NBA to keep a team like that together.
Yeah,
for a lot of reasons. It's not. Some reasons out of his control, some reasons are money. You have no idea what some of these guys are going to want or ask for in a couple years when they're up for contract extensions. But I think we can agree now this means that Taylor Jenkins is officially the favorite for Coach of the Year next year, right? Because
I would say so. Yep.
James Jones win Executive of the Year last year. Monty Williams wins Coach of the Year this year.
We'll see how many
see if the pattern repeats itself.
Knee injuries John Morant has next season. Hopefully,
Barry just put the hex on.
Hopefully, none at all. But just looking at the way this team has been constructed, and I'm going back to the Jaren Jackson Jr. situation. When you front load contracts like this, you do it for a reason, and they seem to have a plan, and they seem to be setting themselves up great for the future. I'm gonna go as far to say that, Zach has probably played NBA 2K, considering he's about my age. And I played a ton of 2K, assembling rosters, trying to figure out how all the contracts fit together and staggering players and contracts to make it all work within the salary cap. I'm looking at his roster here, and I'm like, this dude has done this as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, the video games today, they make it so that you can actually become, you can use the skills that are required to be good in the video game in real life now.
Yep.
I was just talking about this at work the other day with somebody, and we were saying, I wonder when an NFL team is going to hire one of the Madden Pro champs as an offensive coordinator.
Right.
Right. Because they run as many plays as a real offensive coordinator does.
They run more plays.
Yeah.
That's the thing is when I was playing 2K doing franchise mode, I could run this team for 10 years and then I could restart over and run it again for 10 years. And once you start to do that over and over again, you start to see those patterns and your brain starts to say, okay, I made a mistake this season, but I'm not getting fired. I'm just resetting my game and starting over again. And I do it. I make all my mistakes and then you kind of learn and you're like, wow, real life is easy.
Yeah.
I wish I could say that, but welcome, Steven. Thank you for joining us today. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday. All right, Calvin, next up, let's talk about Kyrie Irving. You want to give everyone kind of a brief rundown on what's going down with him and GM Sean Marks?
Well, Kyrie Irving is back in the news. The Nets obviously have a big decision to make about him this offseason. He is eligible for the Supermax contract extension. I think he also has a player option for next year at $36 million. Sean Marks was asked yesterday about Kyrie Irving specifically if he would be offered a long-term deal. He, as you would expect, danced around the question a little bit, but he also said some pretty surprising things and some pretty direct things. One of them in particular being that they want players that are available, healthy and available, to help this team. Seems like a direct shot, a direct hit at Kyrie Irving. How could it not be?
Yeah.
And I mean, whether or not you think that he is, I don't think he's insulting or taking an actual shot at Kyrie. I think he's speaking the truth. There's no secret that they wanted him to play this year.
Yeah.
It just did not work out exactly as they would have envisioned it. And to offer somebody that much money when you're really not sure how many games you're going to get out of them. I think in Kyrie's Brooklyn career, he's missed 123 games and played in like 108 or something like that. So that's a lot of money to spend for a guy that's going to be unavailable more than half the time.
And they already gave him a ton of money.
They did.
Yeah, they already gave him a ton of money. And, you know, the Brooklyn team, Sean Marks is right. Kyrie's got to make a decision. And the decision he's referring to is, are you opting into the $36 million next season? Because, you know, we've seen players in the past have decided to opt out to sign a longer-term deal that's maybe a little bit less, or maybe somebody decides to give him the max. I don't know who's going to do that. They could work out a sign and trade, or he could just straight up sign with somebody else, but he's not getting the super max if that happens. But, you know, Brooklyn's also got to do some thinking as well, because you just re-signed Kevin Durant. He's making $44 million next season, 46 the year after that, 49, and then 53. He's already 33 years old, so he's going to be making over $50 million as a 37-year-old, which is crazy.
It's nuts.
LeBron's been playing well at 37, but LeBron hasn't dealt with the injuries that Kevin Durant has dealt with. Then you're also paying a 25-year-old in Ben Simmons. You paid him $31 million this season, well, part of that, to not play. You're paying him $33.9 next season, $36 the season after that, and $38 the season after that. Just those two combined next season are making close to $80 million. Then you throw Joe Harris in there. He's making $18 million next season and $19 million the season after that. If Kyrie Irving does opt in to his player option, that right there is over $120 million between four players.
That's crazy.
Four players.
$120 million is about what the salary cap is also.
Yeah, which is crazy. And then you got, you know, guys like Seth Curry, last year of his deal, $8 million. Patty Mills got a $6 million player option. This is without filling out your roster.
Right,
so do you let Kyrie opt out and you say, hey, our big three is going to be KD, Ben Simmons, and Joe Harris?
Or Seth Curry, maybe.
Or Seth Curry, and we're going to surround them and try and fill in, make this team a little bit deeper. Or do you just let Kyrie Irving opt in and you say, we're going to give it one more year and see what happens? But if he says, I'm opting out because I want to sign a long-term deal with Brooklyn, I'm a little questionable there, because you're basically betting your entire franchise on Kyrie Irving. And whether he's going to bring you a championship or bring you to the promised land, I don't know if that's going to happen. But if you do, there's basically no backup plan at that point.
No, the Nets are... Sean Marks should be in the conversation for GM of the year every year that he has to deal with Kyrie Irving, I would say, on his team. Not that he should necessarily win, but I definitely do not envy Sean Marks' position whatsoever. I mean, not just having to deal with everything that Kyrie Irving brings, both, you know, on the court and off the court, but you look at this team. This is the team that had to use the most starting lineups in the NBA this year because their team was completely decimated with injuries. Mm-hmm. So even if Kyrie doesn't come back, as you mentioned, you still have a pretty nice core of players there that cost you a lot of money, and you still have to fill out the roster. But almost everyone on that team has major injury concerns. Kevin Durant does.
Yep.
Ben Simmons does. Joe Harris is now coming back from missing basically an entire season. And then you've got aging veterans that you don't know are going to be on the team or not. LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, all these guys. So the Nets and the Lakers are really in very, very similar positions here. Handicapped with money, handicapped with players that they're not sure, for different reasons, but they're not sure whether or not they fit, committing mentally to this team, physically to this team. Point guard questions. That they have some very difficult off seasons ahead of them, those two franchises.
Yeah, they really do. So, shout out to Sean Marks. You've done what you can. You brought these guys to Brooklyn, and the hype was there. You were the favorite to win the title for 2 seasons. Unfortunately, didn't do it. You were able to salvage the James Harden situation. Let's see what you can do with Ben Simmons. Let's see what you can do with Kyrie Irving. I still have a lot of hope for this team, but they have a lot of questions to answer this offseason. What's up, Phoenix? Good to see you.
Glad you brought that up.
I did pick Boston to win yesterday. The reason I'm doing this is because I screwed up, and I picked Brooklyn to beat Boston. And I had Brooklyn going to the Eastern Conference Finals because I thought they could put it together. I was trying to turn a negative in Kyrie Irving not playing the whole season into a positive and saying he's finally healthy.
He's well rested.
He's well rested. He's full of energy. Maybe they can make a run here. The only reason I picked Boston to win this series is because then Calvin doesn't have one of his Final Four, and I don't have one of my Final Four, and we're tied. But I thought they were going to win that game until the end.
Yeah, you can roll the footage on yesterday's show. I believe I called Milwaukee to win that game by 3.
Yeah, you also said Golden State was closing it out.
We don't have to talk about that game. But I had Milwaukee winning this series in 6 games before it started against the Brooklyn Nets, but whatever, it still counts.
Hey, you got the Final Four. All right, Calvin, let's jump here into yesterday's games. 1.5 exciting games yesterday. Milwaukee goes into Boston, and they actually get their first win on the road here against the Boston Celtics.
That's actually the second.
Oh,
they won game 1 on the road.
Second game. They're up 3-2 in this series. An amazing performance by Giannis Antetokounmpo. 40 points for him, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, a block, 7 turnovers. Didn't like that, but that's okay. And then Drew Holiday, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, a steal, 2 blocks. One of the hugest blocks I've seen in this year's playoffs. And they were talking about it all day today on ESPN all morning long, and then they just happened to show that LeBron chase down block on Andre Iguodala. I forget how amazing that block was. Yeah. And that was like Game 7.
Game 7.
That was like literally the most games you could play in a season, and he's full energy, 2 minutes left, gets that block. That was just unreal. That was an exciting series to watch. But back to the game. Huge plays by Drew Holiday late in this game, the block and the steal. Just
shout out to Bobby Portis, huge offensive rebound and put back there
on the missed
free throw. If you're Boston, you simply cannot let that happen. That probably cost them the game. And Boston was up 14 points in that fourth quarter. They had the game in hand, but Giannis and Drew Holiday really were something else there down the stretch, both on offense and defense.
Yeah, 34 points for Jason Tatum in this game, 26 for Jaylen Brown, 15 for Marcus Smart. Unfortunately, he is the one that gets blocked and turns it over late in this game. Mm-hmm. I know he's probably very angry with himself because that dude just has such high expectations for himself, his teammates, all positives, but when you do lose, you do take it out on yourself. It's crazy to think about this, Calvin. If Boston could have got one of those tip-ins in the 2 games ago, and they could have pulled this game out, this series would have been over already.
Yeah.
That's like 1 or 2 plays makes up the entire
game
series,
of inches,
which is crazy. Now they have to head to Milwaukee to try and tie the series
for an elimination game.
Yeah, it's crazy. What did you see in this game? what did Milwaukee do differently? We saw Giannis was bleeding pretty much this whole game.
Yeah, he was.
I was surprised. Like, he's literally running down the court, and there's blood all down the side of his face. And I'm like, why are the referees not stopping the game? Like, normally,
they're very
there's
quick
a
to
little
stop
bit
the
of
game.
blood
Yeah.
on somebody's finger.
Yep.
It's, what is it, infectious disease?
Uh-huh.
Or did they change the name again? They just call it a
I don't know what they call it.
non-COVID related cut. But anyways, he was like bleeding down his face. I'm like, stop the game. What is going on here? Incredible play for him.
Yeah.
But, what did you see differently from the Bucks?
I don't know how much I saw differently. I mean, this whole series, ever since they lost Middleton, right? It's been how great are Giannis and Drew Holiday going to be? In this game, it's funny. Each team had 4 players in double figures, so it really came down to which stars were going to outshine the other stars in the end, and it was Giannis and Drew Holiday making the big plays at the end over Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Al Horford was pretty much non-existent in this game. Grant Williams, another guy who was huge for Boston in Game 3, 0 points in 31 minutes, 0 of 3 from the field. Mm-hmm. So you don't have the complementary or the role player performances that could swing a game for you. It comes down to your stars making big plays at the end. Giannis hitting a huge 3 there towards the end of the game. Bobby Portis with that big offensive rebound. And then, Drew Holiday. Everybody is talking about how Jason Tatum was running free down the sideline there. He was wide open. Yep. Maybe it's a different story. We might go to overtime if Marcus Smart sees him, but give credit to Drew Holiday, who, makes 2 amazing defensive plays, both on Marcus Smart at the end of the game.
EJ was calling overtime at halftime.
Yeah.
He was calling it. He's like, oh, I see overtime in this game.
It definitely had that feel to it. Even after Pat Connaughton hit those 2 free throws,
yep.
I was still thinking, all right, this is, I
plenty
think we're
of
getting
time
extra
left.
basketball here.
Yep, plenty of time left.
But nope, Drew Holiday sneaks in and steals the game. Literally.
I feel like the end of that game, so Milwaukee goes up 3. Boston didn't have a timeout to advance the ball, so they were there in the backcourt. And I think they were just hurrying to get the ball across because they didn't want Milwaukee to intentionally foul them, and then they go to the line for 2 free throws.
Yeah.
I think that's what put the pressure on Marcus Smart and led to that eventual turnover.
Well, Boston also didn't want the ball inbounded to Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
The Bucks forced that.
Yeah.
They took away Tatum. It almost backfired on him because I forget who it was, but somebody fell down and that left Jason Tatum running free down the sideline. But again, give credit to Milwaukee. They made the big plays offensively and defensively down the stretch, even though it's a pretty big collapse if you're the Boston Celtics at home.
We've seen this before.
Big-time players make big-time plays. Giannis is, like we're saying, Phoenix is saying in the chat here, arguably the best player in the world right now. Yep. So they're the defending champs. You got to beat the champs to be the champs, right?
I mean, we've seen this over and over again in the NBA. Guys, once they reach that year 7, 8, 9, like Giannis is in year 9 right now, won the championship last year, they just seem to reach that comfort level where there's no panic, there's no worry. They've been through so much so far in the NBA that they're ready to shine and perform at their best in the brightest moments. He won the championship last season. Wouldn't be surprised if he won it again this year. And then won MVPs 2 years before that. Jason Tatum, it's only his 5th year in the league at this point, so I expect him to continue to get better and get more comfortable. It's just amazing looking at the Grizzlies and how young they are and how they're playing, because this Boston team, for me, will get much better. They just need a little bit more experience, a little bit more time, and they need to let these stars flourish. I think it's a little early for them.
Well, yes and no. I agree with some of that. They've already been to the Eastern Conference Finals with that group.
Yeah.
With their core group of players, Tatum and Brown. So they're still young and they still will probably get better. But they're far much ahead in their progression than a team like the Memphis Grizzlies are.
Yes, I agree. Any other thoughts on this game before we move on to the most disappointing game of yesterday?
Well, it's just been a pleasure to watch this series. I mean, these teams, like we have said, they're evenly matched. Tatum, Brown, Giannis, and Drew Holiday have been trading blows like heavyweight fighters in this series all series long, and it's been really entertaining to watch. I think Game 6 will be another great game, another close game, and we'll see if the Bucks can close it out on their home floor.
Who do you think wins Game 6 on Friday?
I got to stick with Milwaukee. I picked them to win in 6.
Yep.
Before the series started. They're at home. I made the mistake of going against my pick for the Golden State Warriors last night because I had them winning that series in 6 games. Thought they would do it last night, and I was dead wrong.
Yeah.
So I will not make that mistake again. Milwaukee closes it out in Game 6.
I agree with you. I think they close it out on Friday, and Giannis does it again. He didn't look that tired in this game, at least not as much as the game before.
The Celtics are going to have to hit probably, I'll say at least 13 threes in that game in order for them to win.
Okay. They had,
13
10?
or 14.
They had 10 in the last game, 32%. Yeah, I can agree with that. All right, moving on here. The second game on Wednesday, I'm not going to lie, I didn't watch this whole game. I watched the first half, and then I watched bits and pieces when they were down 55. I was like,
there was nothing really to watch.
Why am I watching this game? They ultimately lose 134-95 to the Memphis Grizzlies in Memphis. Jaren Jackson Jr., that's just fun to say, Jaren Jackson Jr., 21 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 2 blocks. He was not in foul trouble in this game, Calvin, which is something we need to keep our eyes on. When this guy does not get in foul trouble, he can play freely, he can play aggressively, and incredible player, man. Every time I watch this guy, I'm just like, this guy is amazing. Yeah. I think he's underappreciated.
Yeah, I agree.
7 points, 13 rebounds for Steven Adams in this game, 12 points for Dylan Brooks, 21 for Tyus Jones, and 21 for Desmond Bane. They had some bench production here, 11 points from Brandon Clark, 9 from Concher, 10 from Melton, and 11 from Zaire Williams. And then looking at the Warriors here, Draymond Green, 5 points in this game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 turnovers, 17 for Kuminga. He started, and he played actually more minutes than the last game. He played 24 minutes in this game. 19 minutes for Andrew Wiggins, only 5 points for him. Disappointing showing for him. 14 for Steph Curry, 19 for Klay Thompson, and then 10 for Damian Lee and 10 for Moses Moody off the bench. Jordan Poole appeared to get injured in this game.
Yep.
Thoughts on the game, Cal?
I have very few thoughts on this game. There's not a whole lot to talk about here. The Warriors just got absolutely obliterated. I mean, it was shocking, really, really shocking to see them down by 50 points in a playoff game.
Yeah,
down by 60 points in a playoff game. The Warriors were sloppy with the ball, 22 turnovers. Memphis took really good care of the basketball, only 9 turnovers. They shot well. The Warriors didn't. They just outplayed them in every facet of this game. And, yeah, we finally got to see Desmond Bane have a good performance, over 20 points. If him and Jaren Jackson Jr. are playing like that, shooting like that from the outside, they shot ridiculously well as a team. Golden State, one of their biggest problems all year long has been turnovers. They were in the bottom 3 or 4 of the league all year in turnovers per game. Not really sure what the real reason for that is. This is normally a team that shares the ball really well and takes good care of it. They do have a lot of new, younger players that they're mixing into the lineup this particular season. Maybe that's some of the reason for it, but they can't afford to have a game like that where they turn the ball over 20 times.
Yeah.
20 or more times.
It hurts me to say this, but they were looking like the Sacramento Kings out there with the Kings head coach. They basically
Maybe they did get traded to the Kings after all.
They manifested it, making fun of the Kings in the game before that. Now they actually do look like the Sacramento Kings. They turned the ball over. Their assist to turnover ratio for the game was 1.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. As opposed to 37 assists for the Memphis Grizzlies and only 10 turnovers. That's a 3.7. Huge difference there. They shot the ball all right, not from the free throw line. They only took 13 attempts from free throw range as opposed to 30 for the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies just straight up wanted this game more. Golden State seemed like they were ready to walk into Memphis and win an easy one against a Morantless Memphis Grizzlies team. And Memphis was like, nope, that's not happening. We've played too many games without this guy this season. We know how to win without him. I'm looking at this game, Calvin. You're down 55 points in a closeout game. That's something I don't think we've ever seen from this Golden State Warriors team in this era. They barely won game 1. They barely won the last game.
I think this was the third largest margin of victory for a team facing elimination in postseason history.
Wow. Should the Warriors be worried?
Hell yeah. They have not played well the last 2 games at all. And not having Ja Morant out there, you would think those are games that the Warriors should win handily, especially coming off of their 142-point Game 3, where they looked like they had finally clicked again. They regained that championship Warrior style. This is not a good situation for them right now. They still have the upper hand in this series. They're going back home up 3-2, but they really they should definitely be worried because they are not playing very well as a team right now. They've got to cut down on the turnovers. They're going to obviously need to be more efficient offensively. They got to get more out of Jordan Poole in Game 6. And I think Andrew Wiggins I'm looking at him as a guy that really needs to step up for this team, both offensively and defensively.
Mm-hmm. It's such a strange series, right? Like, the Warriors win Game 1 by 1 point on the road. Then the Warriors lose Game 2 by 5 points. Then they blow out Memphis with Ja Morant. This is the game that he got injured late in. They blow out the Warriors by 30 points. Then they barely squeeze out a win, 3-point win without Ja Morant. And then they just completely didn't even show up to this game. They lost by, 39 points? It's a very weird series.
It is.
Very physical. To me, the difference in these wins and losses for Memphis is when Memphis loses, they're in foul trouble and they can't play aggressive. When they stay out of foul trouble and they get good performances by the role players, they have a shot or they do win the game. So that's really what I'm looking forward in Game 6. I know it's in Golden State. I know yesterday I called that Memphis was going to win this game and then Golden State was going to close out in Game 6. I still feel that way, but I'm a little bit more concerned.
Yeah, I definitely think you have to be concerned if you're the Warriors. You cannot afford to let this go back to Memphis for a Game 7.
Are they the Golden State Warriors at this point?
Today they are.
I mean, I feel like it could go either way, right? Like, this team has been together for a long time. They have a lot of strong personalities, one really strong personality in Draymond Green that could completely brush it off and be like, whatever, guys, that was one bad game, let it go. Next game's at home. We're going to close it out. We're going to win the series. They don't have their best player. They potentially have 2 games to close it out. But this next game for me is like the game it has to be done in. If you're Golden State, like, you have to win Game 6. Otherwise, if you don't win Game 6, Game 7, there's no pressure on the Memphis Grizzlies, in my opinion. They're playing with house money. The game is at home. You didn't have your best player. You were able to push this team to 7 games, and now it's 1 game, win or go home. Golden State needs to win Game 6.
They did. And if you think about it, they had the opportunity to close this series out last night, giving them a few more days rest ahead of what happens in this Phoenix-Dallas series. Now both series are racing for, that little bit of extra rest that they could get heading into the Western Conference Finals. It could make a big difference either way.
Yeah, definitely. You got Golden State in Game 6?
I do.
All right.
I do.
All right. Anything else you want to mention on this before we move on to today's games? We got action starting here in about 30 minutes.
Now on to the next.
All right. So first game today, Miami heads to Philadelphia. Oh, wow. The injury report just shrunk on the Miami Heat.
Go figure.
It was pretty long. Tyler Hero was on it. Matt Struss was on it. The only guy left on it is Kyle Lowry. He's out.
Will not play
in this
today.
game. Matisse Thybulle still listed as day-to-day. Philadelphia is favored by 2 in this game, which is pretty wild. Joel Embiid is still rocking the mask, is dealing with a back injury now, a finger injury, a face injury, a brain or emotional injury, heart injury. A lot of injuries for Joel Embiid. But Calvin, first thoughts on this game?
Well,
and Miami's up 3-2.
It all comes down to what Philadelphia team are we going to see today. Will Joel Embiid look like the MVP or the MVP candidate that he played at level-wise all year long? What's James Harden going to do? And then from there, if those two guys show up and play really well, it gives opportunity for the rest of the team to play well too. Tobias Harris, Danny Green, they're going to need those guys to hit threes. They've shot the ball much better at home. But I wore my Miami Heat jersey again. Last time I wore this jersey, the Heat won. I think this series is over. I just feel like after Game 5, Philadelphia looked so just dejected and slow.
They knew they were going to lose the series.
They did not show up for the biggest game of the season in any way. And I think that spells the end for Philadelphia today.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen them bounce back from tough performances like that. But I'm going to agree with you. I think Miami smells blood at this point. I think they go for the jugular. I think they eliminate.
You used that phrase. I stayed away from that one today because I said that exact phrase about the Warriors yesterday.
Yeah, I think they do it. I think they're too hungry, and I expect them to win this game, to advance on, and to kind of sit back and be like, okay, who are we playing? We're getting healthy. Kyle Lowry's working on his hamstring. We're gaming for whoever advances, but I still expect this Miami Heat team to make it to the finals this year.
We shall see.
What does Philadelphia need to do to win this game?
They need to have Harden and Embiid play like their two best players, first of all. They need to take care of the basketball. They turned it over way too many times in Game 5. And they need to hit – their role players need to hit outside shots. Tyrese Maxey's got to play well. Danny Green or George Niang, whoever it's going to be, Korkmaz, they've got to get some of those role players stepping up and hitting, 2, 3, 4 3-point shots within this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they just need to score.
The energy level just has to be much, much higher.
Yeah.
I mean, they need – Miami got too many easy looks at the basket. They looked faster to the ball. They were out running a lot of that game. Philadelphia just needs to bring their energy and effort level way, way up on both sides.
Yeah. I also expect Jimmy Butler to have a huge game here in Philadelphia. I think this is the – see you guys. Aren't you glad you didn't re-sign me? Because I could have been your
73 points combined in games 3 and 4 in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he does like playing there.
And they did lose those games.
They did lose those games.
But
because he was the only one that did anything.
Yeah. I expect this to be the revenge game for Jimmy Butler in saying, you guys should have signed me. Y'all didn't think I was a max player. Miami thought I was a max player. Yep. I took them to the finals, and I'm about to take them to the finals again. So definitely you don't want to get a guy that has a chip on his shoulder as large as him. You don't want to get that guy angry at your franchise or your team. And there's quite a few teams that he's pissed off already.
Yes.
All right, moving on to the second game of the day.
Here's the real game today.
Phoenix heads to Dallas. Phoenix is favored by 2 in this game. Nobody listed on the injury report. Phoenix is up 3-2. Do they close it out here in Dallas, Calvin?
This is a tough one for me. I keep going back and forth. I'm actually surprised that Phoenix is favored in this game. Dallas plays really well at home. They've played very, very well at home in this series. Jalen Brunson's had some really great games in Dallas. Dorian Finney-Smith went ballistic from 3 the last time we saw them in Dallas. So this is a tough one. I'm still going to pick Phoenix to win this game. I think odds are Chris Paul is going to have a good game at some point here.
He's got
this
to.
Might be the one, but I think Devin Booker is really locked in. He looks very, very good to me. DeAndre Ayton's coming off another really good game as well. So I think Phoenix is going to end up winning this game and closing the series out. I've picked Miami and Phoenix to win every game in this series, even the ones that they've lost. But I think they're the better teams. And, it's all going to come down for Dallas to Luka Magic and how many threes are they going to be able to hit.
Yeah. What do you think the over-under on unwanted hugs in this game is?
There's no love lost in this series, that's for sure.
Is Chris Paul bringing his family to this game?
If I was Chris Paul's family, even if he wanted me there, I'd say, I'm just going to watch on TV, bro. Sorry.
I feel like if I was him, I would
I'll
not
see you
want
back
them
in
there.
Phoenix.
Like, I don't want any distractions.
I don't think they're going to be in attendance. I mean, maybe they are. If they are, they'll have extra security around them probably. Yeah. So I don't know.
Maybe put them in a bubble or something.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think Phoenix is going to close out the series. I think it's getting to that point where these teams are like, okay, we just need one good game. Close it out. We need to rest. We need to get healthy. We need to preserve our energy for the next round. I think having, veteran players on your team like a Jimmy Butler, a Chris Paul, they are the voice in the locker room, and they are the ones explaining the gravity of the situation. Yes, we could let it go to 7 games, and we have 2 chances, but we need to win now.
Yeah.
It's important. Every single game matters at this point.
Luka Doncic, I think, is going to have a monster game today. Yeah. Regardless of whether they win or lose, I think he comes – I'm talking like a 30-point triple-double probably.
I could see
something
that.
major.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had 40 points.
Yeah, Dallas only wins if they also are going to get contributions from everybody else. Jalen Brunson, Dinwiddie, they've got to hit a bunch of threes in this game for Dallas to win.
When Kleber shoots well, the Mavs play really, really well. It's funny, man. I'm looking here. The NBA has got to be stoked on this lineup. We potentially have 4 series here going to Game 7. They're all tied 3-2 at this point. If you and I are completely wrong and Philadelphia and Dallas win today, they force a Game 7. If, Boston and
we could potentially have 4 Game 7s.
If Boston and Memphis pull out tomorrow, that's a Game 7 as well. My question for you, Calvin, who has the best chance to force a Game 7? And will there only be one?
Ooh, this is tough. Before yesterday, I thought the only teams that had the best chance would be Boston or Milwaukee, whichever team is down in that series, and Dallas. But now I'm starting to worry about Golden State.
Yeah.
So the only team that I don't think has a great chance to force a Game 7 is Philadelphia.
Okay.
Those other 3 series, I still am picking Phoenix to win the game. I think they will close this out. But it's not a for sure thing to me. It's not a done deal. The best series that has the best chance of going 7, in my mind, is Milwaukee and Boston.
Yep.
They've just been the closest, evenly matched series. They've split, pretty much every game in that series, 1-1, 1-1, 1. Now Boston has a chance to go get another one on the road. But the Warriors, they better figure it out fast. Otherwise, that series is going back to Memphis for a Game 7 too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's these 2 series. Bottom line, Boston could force a Game 7. Memphis could force a Game 7. Which team do you think is more likely to win a Game 7 out of those 2?
out of the Golden State and Milwaukee series?
Memphis or Boston?
Memphis or Boston?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's tough. I'll actually go with Memphis.
Okay.
Just because I don't like the way the Warriors look right now as a team. Milwaukee, even when they lose, it's still usually a close game. Giannis has been phenomenal all series long. That series really has come down to who makes bigger plays in the fourth quarter, wins the game.
Yep.
Except for the one game where Boston shot incredibly well from three, and it was never really close. So I trust Milwaukee more in a Game 7 as of right now. It's crazy to even say this, but they are the champs.
Yeah.
Than I do the Warriors, just because of the way they've looked and having to go back to Memphis for a Game 7.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. All right, guys, we've reached that time of the show again. We are going to open it up to Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, any topics, any subjects you would like us to cover, just let us know here in the chat, and we'd be happy to go over them all before we head out. We mentioned 2 awesome games today, so hopefully you guys are able to watch both of those. And then Calvin and I will be back again tomorrow. Don't worry. We'll be live again tomorrow doing the show. Also want to remind you all, next week, Tuesday, very important day, the NBA Draft Lottery will still be live on this channel, and we will be doing a draft party on our other channel, Royal Rebounds. All right, a couple comments here. The Suns win and the Heat win in scorchers tonight.
Ooh, that's a bold pick there. Bold pick.
The Heat is bringing the sun, and the Suns are bringing the Heat in the game. Scorchers, I love it.
I think Miami has a better chance to win going away than Phoenix does. But I still think both Miami and Phoenix win tonight.
Yep, I agree. How worried are you about Mike Brown as a head coach? This is how many worries I got. 0. It's too early to worry, man. It's way too early to worry.
Yeah, it would be very unfair to judge Mike Brown based on last night's performance.
Yeah.
I feel.
I mean, any of the performances, yes, you've been the assistant coach, yes, you've been with this team for a while, but you literally got the call on your way to the arena 2 games ago that's like, hey, you're the head coach now. Kerr's out due to COVID. Yeah. So, coaching is all based on setting up systems, having routines, having continuity and consistency. So when you're just kind of thrown into that position, yes, you can succeed. He won one of those games. He lost one of those games. But I think that this has absolutely nothing to do with Mike Brown.
Well, I mean, it's got something to do with him, right? I mean, everybody on the team, coaching staff and players, they've all got to take responsibility for being down more than 50 points in a playoff game. Yeah. The point about the timeouts, look, there's some games where it's pretty apparent from the beginning of the game that your team just doesn't have it on those days. And in those situations as a coach, sure, you can call some timeouts early, but if it doesn't work, if you're not making any progress or you're not looking any better in the second quarter, continuing to call timeouts for the rest of the game probably isn't going to change anything. So I'm not sure how much for this one specific game you can really point to that and say, oh, that's a red flag for Mike Brown as a coach for the rest of the way. Sometimes your team just gets blown out, and whether or not you call timeouts, it's not going to save them.
One of the greatest coaches in NBA history hated to call timeouts.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really compare it to Phil Jackson's style.
Yeah.
That game was over basically when the ball was tipped. So
yeah,
doesn't mean that Mike Brown doesn't need to share in the responsibility for that, but when it comes to timeouts in particular, I don't know how much that would have changed last night's game.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely does have some responsibility, but I think his responsibility as an assistant coach or head coach is going to be the same as far as the outcome of this series. But yeah, I'm not worried at all. I'm happy to welcome Mike Brown to Sacramento. And the sooner the Warriors get eliminated, the sooner he can start. So I'm not worried about that at all. I'm always trying to look on the bright side, Calvin. the bright side.
Yes, you are.
You know, if they lose, they get eliminated. Mike Brown's driving right to Sacramento and getting to work with De'Aaron Fox. All right. Is Giannis the best player in the NBA?
Tough question to answer. Both of those questions, Key Kings, are hard to answer. He certainly is making a very good argument for it, right? Like, it's kind of the same way that I've been answering the MVP question the past couple of days. He is playing like the best player in the world.
He's the best player
he has
left.
Been. Yeah, he has been now for a little over a year. There's probably a couple other guys that are in that conversation, and then there's some guys that are hurt that could come back and maybe be in that conversation again. But if you look at who the 3 finalists for the MVP were this year, Giannis is the best overall player out of all 3 of those guys, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he is definitely the best player that's left here in the playoffs. And I feel like best player is always kind of like a lagging indicator, right? Because you don't crown somebody the best player when they win their first MVP award. You don't crown them the best player when they win their first, league championship. It's kind of a lagging thing where it's like, you won 4 MVPs now and 4 championships. You're the best player because you have all this history behind you. It's not really like a current thing. So if I were to just look at players that are currently left in the playoffs right now, Giannis is the best player. As far as throughout the entire league, he definitely has a great case, but I don't know if I'm just saying hands down best player in the NBA right now.
Who would you put above him?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know who that is.
I think it really speaks to the state of the league right now, because you've got this older generation of great players that are starting to be on their way out, right? Like LeBron still had a phenomenal year last year, but I don't know if anybody's really giving him the title of best player in the league.
He's regressed.
Yeah. He is maybe the greatest 37-year-old of all time, but maybe not the best player in the league right now. So you've got that generation of players, Chris Paul, LeBron, James Harden. They seem to be starting to, like you said, regress. Then you've got Giannis, who is kind of in the middle. He's now into his prime. He's won multiple MVPs, Finals MVP. He has, the trophy until somebody knocks him off of it. And then you've got this super, super deep, young pool of talent in the league that is all up and coming. Jason Tatum is now pushing his way into that conversation. You've got Luka, you've got Devin Booker, you've got all these guys, John Morant. They're the next phase, right, the future. So I think as of right now, it's Giannis until somebody else kind of takes it from him.
Yeah, I think that a huge advantage that Giannis has is we've seen this in the past as far as like best players in the league is they have a physical advantage, right? Like LeBron won the genetic lottery, bigger, faster, stronger than everybody. Giannis has an amazing work ethic. He continues to get better every year. He has all the skills, but he also has this incredible athletic body that nobody can match up with. That's what gives him a huge edge, in my opinion. So you know what, dude? I might, at the end of the season, I might be willing to crown Giannis the best player in the NBA, but he's up there. I think there's maybe tiers at this point, and he's definitely in the top tier.
There's nobody that I'm really going to put ahead of him right now.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum's the only guy that's making me think about it just because of the way he's played in the playoffs so far this year. And he's one of those guys, again, for me, to be the best player in the league or the best player in the world, you have to do it all, right? You have to be a dominant force offensively and defensively. You've got to be, your best offensive player and your best 1 or 2 defensive players, something like that. And those guys have very few weaknesses in their game.
What are your thoughts on Jimmy Butler? Where does he rank?
I love Jimmy Butler as a player, and he again is one of those two-way guys. I'm not putting him ahead of Tatum or Giannis or That's tough. Now I'm going to have to think more about everybody in the league.
You got
He's
Kawhi.
high.
I mean,
he's high on the list for me. He really is. I do like Jimmy Butler a lot.
He's really hard to rank.
I think he's underrated by most people.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
a lot of people point to the three-point shooting. That's really the only flaw he's got in his game. He does everything else. He's a primary defender, can stop your best player, great scorer in the mid-range, great slasher, a decent passer, decent ball handler, excellent rebounder for a guy his size.
Mm-hmm. It's the attitude.
He does a lot of it. He does it all.
That's what puts him on another level for me is the attitude. And
Damian Lillard is one of my favorite players in the league too. I forgot all about him.
Yeah. Who's a better defender, Drew Holiday or Marcus Smart?
That one's tough. That one's really tough. I think they're both great. They're both really good. I love Drew Holiday. I think he is also one of the more underrated players in the league. I just kind of like him as a player more, so I guess I'll give a slight edge to Drew, but they're both really good defenders.
I'm going to go with Marcus Smart. Same reason I like Jimmy Butler. I think the attitude. Drew Holiday is a quiet leader. No knock on him, amazing player, but Marcus Smart has that fire.
Won the award for the best teammate in the league this year.
I know, but I'm just saying Marcus Smart's got that fire that I look for in a defensive player of the year candidate and in a defensive stopper or leader. He's got that Draymond Green, that KG, that dog mentality that I absolutely love out of defenders like him. And it's almost, and same with Gary Payton, right? Is it's not always his ability as a defender, it's his aura, it's his competitiveness, it's the atmosphere that he creates around to frustrate people and take them off their game. Like, these are all cerebral attacks on the offensive player, and it sometimes goes beyond your defensive abilities. That's why I like a guy like Marcus Smart over Drew Holiday. And no knock against either of them. Both incredible players. I'll take either of them.
Yeah.
Vivek rescinds his contract and hires Mark Jackson. I hope not, man. You got to start somewhere with some consistency here. I heard that Monte's getting his extension as well, so very happy about that. I love what the Kings are doing, but Tuesday's a big day. What do you guys think of the league now having conference final MVP awards? I think I would have liked a postseason MVP award instead. Have you heard about this?
I actually didn't know that they were doing that.
I haven't heard about this either.
I don't know.
If that's true, it's stupid.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm really a fan of it. And I'm not sure how you, just like it's hard to choose who the MVP of the league is. If you had a postseason MVP award, I find there being some difficulty trying to figure out who that is, right? Because
very difficult.
How do you differentiate from a guy that averages like 40 points a game and 10 rebounds in one series but gets eliminated, as opposed to a guy that averages 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists a game and makes it all the way to the finals? Like, obviously you incentivize winning, right?
Yeah.
Which people are saying you should incentivize winning in the regular season MVP award. And, I'm not so sure about that, how easy it would be to determine.
I like the idea of the Magic Johnson and Larry Bird awards. That's pretty cool. I might be more open to something like baseball where you have an NL MVP and an AL MVP or something like that. Maybe you split, the MVP award, and then, Jokic and Embiid could have both won MVPs before. We saw the All-Star game. Shaq and Kobe shared one.
We're walking down the participation award trophy, though, right? Like,
yeah, there's too many.
It's the playoffs that they play for the final Larry O'Brien trophy and the Finals MVP trophy. Shouldn't that be enough for postseason awards?
Yep.
Why do we need to add more?
Yeah, I like the idea of honoring Magic and Larry, but Calvin's right. I think they need a regular season MVP award that needs to be given out at the end of the regular season. And then they need a finals MVP. And I think the finals MVP needs to go to the best player of the series, not the winner of the finals. Like the year that Iguodala won Finals MVP,
it should have been LeBron.
that should have gone to LeBron James, and that's only happened once in NBA history. It should have happened again. Winning is important, but when you're leading your team in points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, and you force, what was that, game 6? Or game 6, I think.
Oh, that was...
I think they lost in 6.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
You should get MVP, Finals MVP. But, hey, I'm not in charge of those awards, so whatever. Do you guys see LaVine joining Dame in Portland? I'm just going to comment real quick because I bet Calvin's got a bunch to say about this. I think it would be a really exciting tandem and very, very entertaining to watch, but I don't see him leaving Chicago.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing. We talked about this, was it just yesterday or 2 days ago?
2 days
ago. 2 days ago. I'll say the same thing that I said then. I love the Bulls. I want Zach LaVine to be re-signed in Chicago. I think they have a little bit of unfinished business there in terms of getting the team back healthy together and giving it a real run, seeing how good they can be. But if I take myself out of that role of being a fan and just look at it from a basketball standpoint, if there was a place for Zach to go if he is to leave Chicago, Portland makes a lot of sense for a number of reasons. They can afford to pay him. He gets to play alongside Damian Lillard. That would be a really great backcourt. If they're able to keep Anthony Simons, too, that, to me, seems like they've got the next trio that the Golden State Warriors are playing with right now. Klay, Steph, and Jordan Poole has a very similar feel to me to what Dame, Zach LaVine, and Anthony Simons could be. So that would be a really good core of guys to build around in Portland. But at the end of the day, please, Chicago, re-sign Zach LaVine.
Yeah,
Please,
it'll
please
happen.
re-sign him.
The only way it doesn't happen is if he decides he doesn't want to be there, or they're not going to pay him. But I don't see either of those situations happening. Key King says, did you guys hear about Dyson Daniels potentially wanting to play for a team like Sacramento or San Antonio? He had a podcast recently where he talked about those two places as potential destinations for him. I mean, I see him projected at like number 9 or 10 in the draft. So, I mean, he's saying all the right things. Why wouldn't you want to go to Sacramento and get drafted potentially 2 positions higher, 3 positions higher than you're projected? It's more money for you. A lot of these guys, their dream is just to make it to the NBA. You know, you look here at the top teams, Houston, Orlando, Detroit, you know, Oklahoma City, and then you got the Indianapolis Pacers here. Or sorry, Indiana Pacers here.
Pacers.
All those teams are crap, man. I know the Kings.
And then you've got the team that hasn't made the playoffs in 16 straight years.
Yeah, I know you got the Kings on there, but still, like, the Kings have some talent on their team to build around. I think the Kings are more talented than those other 5 teams that I mentioned. Then you got Portland on here as well. You got New Orleans. Like, I don't know how much playing time you're going to get with New Orleans. They seem to be loaded with talent and a lot of players. I do like hearing people say they want to go to Sacramento, but, you know, I'm not really putting anything into that yet until I figure out who wins the lottery.
Yeah, I mean, you hear guys that go through the draft process every year say stuff like this, like, I like this team. I think I'd be a good fit for this team. Or you hear the direct opposite of that. I just want to go, you know, where I'm wanted, whoever drafts me, blah, blah, blah. So to me, it's not, I don't really care if a guy, it's nice to hear those things, right?
Yeah.
But that's not going to determine who the Kings draft. Just some guy saying I want to play for Sacramento doesn't mean Monty's like, that's my guy right there.
Yeah.
So
we want who Monty wants.
There's a lot of things that have to play out here, and yes, the draft lottery is the first domino to fall in that.
Yeah, we want who Monty wants. I think Monty's proven himself in the past 2 drafts that he is able to draft well. Obviously, we haven't done as well as the Memphis Grizzlies, but, you know, there's always a goal to shoot towards. But yeah, good to hear guys wanting to come to Sacramento, young guys that want the challenge. Tyrese Halliburton said he wanted to go to Sacramento. We end up drafting him. He played well, and then we traded him for an all-star. So I wouldn't be mad if we were to do that again. But, yeah, it's tough. We still have a lot of time before the NBA draft. Any other questions, guys, before we wrap up the show? Techno Peasant says, oh, yeah, I was thinking about the Iggy getting MVP award as to why there should be a postseason award instead. LeBron most certainly should have won the award that year. Yeah, the dude was just playing incredible, man. Like, I watched every single one of those games, and I was just in awe watching the guy. And I still go back and watch it, and I'm like, wow, this was incredible. I'm like, I was watching this live, and
one of the greatest postseason performances ever.
Still didn't take it all in.
Yeah.
You know? Still didn't take it all in. And that's the coolest thing about basketball, right, is like things happen in the moment, and that moment's over. But as fans, we can go back, and we could watch amazing performances by guys like Dirk Nowitzki, Kobe Bryant, Jordan.
I mean, there's hundreds of players. You forget, you know, what they looked like at the time they were in their prime, or it's hard to keep those memories fresh, especially when you watch, so much basketball every day. You see what's happening currently in the league. It makes it easy to forget what happened in the past or how good somebody was, for a brief period of time.
The best part of them showing that LeBron chase down block today on ESPN was Richard Jefferson was on the show, and he was on that squad, right? Mm-hmm. So they stopped it, and Richard Jefferson's on the bench, and he's like, why did you guys let him through? He just let him through the entire defense, and he's just like, and then all of a sudden this blur of LeBron comes across, huge block, and everyone's just like, oh, my God, that was incredible.
Yeah, that was one of those you remember where you were moments.
Yeah, the timing on that is just incredible. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up the show here. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate all your time. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Please share this video with your friends. We're not going to be doing a live on Royal Rebounds today, but we potentially might do one tomorrow depending on how much content we have. We will also be back tomorrow on this channel, but our main goal right now is just prepping and getting ready for the draft lottery on Tuesday. We're going to have a really fun live party watch experience, so make sure you guys join in for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please close out your tabs. We will see you all tomorrow, and don't miss the games today. Anything else, Calvin, you want to say?
Happy Thursday.
All right, guys. Don't forget to tip your bartender.